Oh, you'll have to come our way. Come to the island. Come and stay on the
God,
island.
that sounds awesome. Have you ever met somebody for the first time and you just know instinctively that they're really cool? Well, that's the way it was when I met Jan Elliott. Funny right from the get-go, super warm and friendly, a really good voice actor, and what's not to like? See for yourself.
Let's dive in.
Hey, look, everybody, it's Jan Elliott. Yay!
Hello. Hello.
Thanks for joining me here today, Jan. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for having me on. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's this.
sure.
It's cool.
Absolutely. Now, I met Jan just once that I recall, and that was at the very first WovoCon.
Yes.
And you immediately started calling me Jan. So I, in turn, immediately started calling you Jan, as I recall. So,
That's
so,
right.
so that was great. Now that was the very first WovoCon. Was that like 7 years ago or something at this point?
It's got to be it. Yeah, it's got to be 7 years ago. The
Something
very
like
first one was like 7 or 8 years ago now.
yeah, in
Yeah,
Henderson, just outside of Las Vegas.
that's
And
right.
I haven't been to any of the others, which I feel
Oh,
really bad about. I was going to go to a mini con,
yes,
Wovo
that's what I
mini
did.
con, yeah, in San Francisco. Well, it was in the Bay Area, but it conflicted with another event that I had going on the same weekend, so I couldn't go. But anyway, so
Yeah.
have you been to the other subsequent Wovo
Just
cons?
one. I did to. I went to a mini Wovocom in Toronto.
Oh yeah, cool.
Actually, yeah, the year before last. Anyway, I really like the mini ones, and I really, um, I get overwhelmed easily in that kind of a situation. So
Yeah.
the mini ones are nice for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. As much as I loved the first WovoCon, I was still pretty new in the business,
Hmm.
and I didn't know anybody there. Jack DeGolio was nice enough to
He
take
was,
me in.
yeah.
Yeah,
Me too, yeah, because
he's
I didn't
so
know
cool.
anybody. He's so
Yeah,
cool. Yeah.
yeah, it's so cool. And then I've only been to one other voiceover related conference, and that was the very last uh, FAF camp. Yeah, FAF camp in San
Oh,
Antonio, Texas, and that was
okay.
cool too. But it was bigger,
Yeah.
not a whole lot bigger, but yeah, for as much as I love hanging out with people and stuff, big crowds and lots of small talk and stuff just kind of leaves me a little flat.
Yeah,
So
it's good, right?
yeah, so as much as cool stuff happens at those conferences, I'm just kind of like,
Yes.
I don't
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
so
I mean, we learn lots for sure, but yeah,
totally.
you kind of need a little time to recover too when we get home.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, your voice gets fried and,
Yep.
breathing all the stale air. Well, not that you want to breathe any air these days.
Yeah, no kidding.
So
Uh,
tell me, how did you find your way into voiceover in the first place? Did you?
well,
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
well, I was just going to say it was quite a long time ago. I started initially in my early 20s. I was an aircraft mechanic,
Really?
and yeah, yeah,
Cool.
yeah,
Wow. I would have never guessed, but it's an unusual job. But anyway,
it
that's cool,
is.
especially for a woman. That's really
Yeah.
cool.
Well, there weren't very many of us, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It was a real interesting time. Um, at any rate, so I was working in it, had been in it about 5 years, perhaps by this point, and I lost my father in a drowning accident, and then
Oh,
sort of, yeah, my whole world sort of was like, oh my God.
yeah. Yeah.
And
How old were you? I'm
I
sorry.
was
How?
like 24.
Oh, wow. Oh, man,
Yeah, I
that's
was 24,
awful.
25.
Yeah.
And at any rate, it sort of was such a life altering event that what it made me do was sort of, as I found myself sort of crying in the parts department at the at the hangar, I was like, no, this isn't working for me.
Yeah.
I need to do something that feeds me.
Yeah.
So I started getting into theater,
Oh,
and
cool.
got into the local. We had local summer stock theater, and then amateur theater for the winter months, and it
Yeah.
was just such a great environment,
Totally.
really fun,
Yeah.
super people. I know you're involved too,
I
and
love it.
just
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so then I got into acting and taking some classes, and then acting, and then working behind the scenes. Got some paid gigs in the city of Montreal, where I'm from, Montreal.
Okay.
And I worked as a stage manager for several years.
I
Well,
see.
several. At that point, it was like, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. I was doing both, a little on stage, more backstage,
I see.
and taking more classes. And then I won a green card lottery to the United States of America.
Oh, raise the roof. I see.
Yeah, so my husband and I went to, husband at the time, we went to, we got work and passed all the, hoops and jumped all through the, everything we needed to do. We got all our ducks in a row, moved to Los Angeles.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and started, he was working for a school.
Is
a
that
high
what
school.
brought you down to the United States, was for a work opportunity for him?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
exactly. I mean, I had to work, and I kept working. I worked in the Cloverfield airport and a couple of other things,
I see.
just juggling a bunch of work. But
Yeah.
I finally got work as a post-production receptionist at a post-production house.
Okay.
And then worked my way through there, became a producer. And some of the editors just was commercial work.
Yeah.
And some of the editors would say, hey, want to come and do a scratch VO for me? And I'm like, scratch VO, what is that show about? I'll do it.
Yeah.
That's how I found out about voice work.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a really cool way to kind of find your way in. That's neat. And
Yeah.
so I imagine then the scratch work turned into real work.
Well, a little bit, yeah. I gave myself, I started taking more classes in LA and at Kalmanson and Kalmanson. I did that for a while.
Okay, yeah.
And then I found this job on the internet that said, if you love snowboarding and talking on the radio, this is a job for you.
Okay.
Well, I just learned how to snowboard and I loved it, like loved it.
Yeah.
And I knew nothing about talking on the radio, but I
Okay.
had, somebody in the post world who said, yeah, I'll record you, whatever. And so they sent me this like mock-up ski report, and I sent them, I had a demo done, and I sent them like just sort of whatever I knew, right? Which was not much, except for I had a passion for the sport.
Right.
And I got the job.
That goes a long way. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what they were looking for. I mean,
cool.
I was green, but I loved it. And they said, well, you got to move back east. And I was like,
Oh.
Yeah. And I was like, I don't know, it's just, I wasn't that unhappy with my work in LA, that kind of thing. So I thought.
Well, and your husband, was it fully employed there too, right? Or had you guys split at that point?
We had split at that point. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So sort of free, no husband, no significant other, no kids, no nothing. I had a dog, which he came with me everywhere. So
okay. Sure.
So I got this job, and my friends, so I wasn't going to take it. And my friend said, oh, you're just afraid. You're afraid. LA's not going anywhere. We're here. It's 6 months. It's a winter gig. You don't have to do it year after year.
I see.
And I said, oh, afraid. Yeah, I'm super afraid. They were like, well, that's not a good reason. I was like, oh, you're right. I get to snowboard. I'll learn whatever. So I moved.
Wow.
And drove across the country, me, my dog, and my little U-Haul trailer that I was pulling behind my car. And I landed in Lebanon, New Hampshire, and started working for Snow Country Mountain Reports as one of their ski reporters.
Wow. And did you ever go back to LA?
I never did. I visited, but I never went back to live.
Wow.
Wow. Fell in love with a country boy, had a baby,
Yeah.
Life changed.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. That's cool. And so, so that kind of, I mean, and then did you just kind of branch off in voiceover aside from that as well, and just kind of start doing other things and that kind of thing? Yeah,
exactly. I started, going through the pay to play. Voice 1, 2, 3 was early on. I mean, this was probably, I'm thinking my son is 19 next month. So, and I was, pregnant when I sort of started to get the ball rolling in actual voice work and getting paid. Apart from being a ski reporter. Yeah.
Right. So this is probably around when the push for home studios maybe was barely beginning at this point.
Beginning. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that's really
Yeah.
awesome. Well, okay, well, that's cool. Now, what kind of work do you find yourself being cast for most now? Assuming that it's not COVID time and things are, people are hiring the way they typically were. What kind of things do you find yourself doing most often?
I would say most often e-learning.
Yeah,
E-learning modules are a big bread and butter for me, I would
yeah.
say. I a little bit, I'd like to do. I've taken more coaching for commercial work,
Uh-huh.
hoping to book more commercial work. It's interesting though. Uh, you, I have like this problem, a little bit of a problem. I think it's more now during COVID when I'm just sort of like sometimes on the edge.
Okay.
And you have to love to sell, right? Whatever you're doing, you have to believe and love to sell it, or to believe in it somewhat
Right.
anyway.
Yeah. Just
And
be
I have a,
connected. Yeah.
yes, yeah. So I have a problem sometimes going through some scripts and going, wow, what
Totally. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I get
so,
it. Sometimes
and
I won't even like, if I'm just not feeling it, and I know that I can't pull something off believably, I'll just, "Sorry."
yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm not even gonna
that's the way to
bother.
do it.
Yeah,
Yeah, just to say, sorry, pass,
yeah,
can't
right.
do it. Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
what kind of things well, okay, you know, you'd like to do more commercial work. A lot of us would.
yeah.
Um, is there anything else that you'd like to do more of?
Well, I've decided, um, well, I'd like to try. See, I have some great role models in my world as far as my mom is a pretty accomplished uh, go-getter.
Yeah.
She's written a book, she's a historian, and we both love this area of the Thousand Islands, which is where I'm living now.
Oh, cool.
And I'd like to put together a podcast uh, talking about the area and the people, and just river life, river stories,
Hmm.
all that kind of stuff that keeps those of us that are familiar with the area, we keep coming back, or we move up here. And you have to be a little bit crazy to be up here. So yeah.
Now, and that's her place in Canada, is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Where the island house is. For those of you who
Yes.
don't know, I just learned this myself. I just got corrected, which is typical for me. Uh, Jan, you live in upstate New York, is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
And then you have occasion to go visit your mom's house in where is it in Canada?
It's in a little town. It's off of a little town in Gananoque, which is southern Ontario,
Oh,
Ontario.
okay.
And so, I'm right on the river, the big mighty St. Lawrence River that sort of drains from the Great Lakes into the ocean.
I see.
And so we're sort of at this area where I'm literally a 15-minute boat ride.
Wow.
And on the US side, we see the ships coming through. On the Canadian side, we don't. But I'm 15 minutes over. And of course, I can't go over there every weekend. We would be there, and then,
Yeah.
anyway. So I'm going over this week, but I'll quarantine for 14 days.
Wow.
And then I will be free to see my folks and,
Wow. So
my
where will
family
you
and friends.
quarantine, in like a hotel or something, or
Well,
some little?
luckily I have some friends that have offered to quarantine, offered me a place to quarantine there at their place, whether one has a little apartment area.
Oh,
But my
cool.
mother said, go to the island. I will go back to Ottawa, go enjoy the island. I'll come back after 2 weeks. And I
Oh,
was
I
like,
see. Oh, that's awesome. That's really
yes.
cool. And on the island, do you have, getting back to kind of voiceover related
Hmm.
stuff, is there cable, internet? Is there, I mean,
Good
can,
question.
yeah, can you work from there reliably and easily with all the stuff that we need?
Yeah, that is a very good question. I have been able to do that year after year.
Okay.
I bring a little setup. I have a travel setup, but
Mhm.
if I'm over there for like this time, I'll actually break down part of my studio and bring a little bit more of it. So I'll have like the full screens and
Yeah.
everything instead
Oh,
of
that's great.
just,
Yeah.
yeah,
How long are you planning to be up there this time?
I think I'll be there for a month.
Oh, great. Oh, how
Yeah, a month.
nice.
Yeah, that'll
Beautiful.
be, yeah, yeah. And so my husband is not happy because Because he said, I'll be happy for like two and a half, 3 days. And then I'm going to miss you guys. I said, 3 days?
Yeah.
You mean 3 hours, don't you?
Oh, that's too much. Okay. So getting back to your career as of now to date,
yes, to date.
is there anything that you're really stoked that you were able to do? Like a sort of a career highlight at this point, whether it was, a really big paying gig, or it got seen by a lot of people, or it was just super fun and was awesome and just makes you stand out like, yeah, this was the highlight, is there anything like that?
Well, nothing quite really jumps out. It's always fun if somebody calls, an IVR system and says, "Hey, was that you?" And at a local spot here in the area. But
Yeah.
I have to say, it's always fun when I meet people who oh my gosh, you're the ski report, Jan Elliott. He listened to you every morning at like 7:32 on blah blah blah.
Do you still do that?
I still do it.
Wow. The
That's,
job that you left LA for,
yeah.
you're still doing.
Yeah, every
That's
winter.
cool.
20 seasons.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
You never hear
Yeah.
about that kind of longevity for a gig, in this business. So that's
No, I have to say it's, especially in like radio, because it is kind of attached to radio. And most of us at Snow Country were like, who's going to want a ski report after? You can go online and you can get, everything's on Twitter, everything's on Facebook. But it really is about just reminding people, hey, it's not snowing in your town, but there is snow not far from you.
There is snow available should you decide to get to it. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So,
wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, they've had we've had a few women that have come and gone. It's harder with little children. It's harder. I have to say, I persevered, and I'm still there, the only female. But they do have a pretty good handful of like 4 guys who they've been there as long as I have, some longer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, are you able to do the report from your home studio now, or do you have to go in?
No. Do it from my home studio. In fact, all of us are now remote broadcasters,
good.
they call us.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, that's really cool. God, you just never hear about that kind of thing. So that's cool. Now, I guzzle water all day long. What do you guzzle all day long? Water. Do you stay away from, some people are really kind of fanatical about staying away from coffee or dairy products or certain spicy foods and that kind of thing. Do you subscribe to any of that, or do you just live your life and, make
it's a huge issue for me. Mouth noise is a huge issue, and it seems to be getting worse as I get older. Yeah, as I get older. And I don't know if it's like a dental thing. I've gone in, I'm not sure. However, I drink water, and like really tons of it all day long. I've always got something like this going around. I drink a couple of these a day easily. Yeah. At one point in my life, I started pulling oil, when you could pull, they call it, I've seen it on some of the, the Facebook information, so conversations. At any rate, oil pulling, so you swish around an oil and you keep sucking it out for like 10 minutes. You just
this one's new on me. I didn't know about this oil pulling.
Pulling, and it's supposed to be good for mouth health, general mouth health.
Really? Just like, is any like food oil, or what kind of oil?
I use a sesame oil.
Okay.
They talked about an MTC coconut or an MTC oil, something that doesn't taste, but you spit it out. You don't swallow it. So you really want to get rid of it. And that I found helped a little bit. Yeah. I've tried different things, oil, green apple, sort of a mixture in a glass, that kind of thing too. You can't. And I should stay off coffee. I have given up coffee on occasion in my last 20 years, but I I'm always back to it
Yeah.
eventually.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
And you know, one thing that some people don't take into consideration, but I sure do, and that's what medications you're taking. I take
Oh yeah.
some like allergy meds that
Oh, that's killer.
dry me
Yeah.
out, you know,
Yeah.
and it doesn't matter how much water I drink.
I
My
know.
mouth is still dry.
Yep.
And I've tried
Yep.
like biotin and
Yes, I've
other
tried that.
stuff. Yeah. But yeah, it's mouth noise is tricky. It is
It is
really a
tricky. It makes
bear.
for really long editing. And I feel horrible if I'm doing, if I have these wonderful friends and clients, and they, they get stuff from me and they edit it themselves. And I'm just, I'm so sorry. And I'll go through my file and I'll take out some stuff,
Yeah. Yeah.
just because like I can't, but I can't. And I've
Yeah.
tried the, not the isotope, but the Acon, I think I've
Oh yeah,
had for
yeah.
a while.
Acon. Yeah.
Acon, and I tried that, but it's such a fine line between having it kind of get fuzzy and
Yeah, and just kind of leave that kind of weird artifact on there.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. No,
yeah.
I agree.
So
I've got a whole thing I go through for for mouth noise, and sometimes it's hard sometimes because you know that you could get it done faster if you just re-recorded a section and
yes,
spliced it in,
hmm
but sometimes it's just perfect except
perfect.
for
I
this
know.
crackle right in the middle of a word, and it's
Oh,
just like, oh God,
oh
yeah.
my
So I've
God, I feel that. I
yeah.
feel your pain. That is me.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
that is me, Jan. That's me.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
no, it can be awful. Yeah. Well, so you mentioned you touched on you've got a to-go bag that you take to Canada with you. What's your home studio like in New York?
Well, in my home studio in New York, my husband helped. We rent this house at the moment,
Okay.
and we are thinking of buying it. If we do, then it will be a more permanent situation. However, he built a little studio inside this little room. So my studio's over here,
Okay.
and
So
he built.
it's like an isolation booth kind of thing, or
Yes, yeah,
okay.
yeah, an isolation booth with sound dampening, insulation in, and then inside as well as like I have that, and then inside I also had these audio blankets, these very thick, and they've got these columns of padding, and
Yeah.
they deaden things like fan noise or anything, just
Great.
really takes it. Yeah. So I also put that all around,
Mm-hmm.
and it cuts it down quite a bit. But
Yeah.
I'm right on. It's not a busy. It's a small town, like literally two traffic lights.
Wow.
But I'm right on the busy sort of main route.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so I do sometimes have trucks going by, and I just can't kill that.
No. Oh, it's the worst. And sometimes, I'm not sure. Hopefully, you're not close to any of those traffic signals where they would just be sitting idling for like what
Yeah,
feels like hours on end. But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. No,
yeah,
I'm thankfully not close to a light, but I'm still, yeah.
yeah.
So if I had my druthers, I'd have a special booth, which I may one day eventually get. Oh, hello. I think my
Like, oh,
dog
you
is.
got doggy? Yeah,
I
good.
do
Yeah,
have a
mine just
doggy.
shook her head out there and it's like jingle, 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 jingle.
Yeah.
She's always
This
around.
one's asleep,
Oh,
snoring.
nice. Well, that's nice. Now, how long have you been in that house?
We've been here almost 5 years.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Do you think
yeah,
the landlord is or the homeowner's wanting to sell or thinking
yeah,
about it?
yeah.
Oh.
He's just been discussing that, and
Hmm.
we thought, well, I mean, it's a little too close to the road, but I'm really so finished with moving. I do not want to move. I'd rather redo than move.
Yeah,
So,
we're gonna be moving probably in a couple years, and
really,
yeah, and I hate it. We've been here for it'll be 14 years in October,
oh
and
wow,
it's a great place to live. It's just super expensive, and we're sick of paying through the nose to live here, and
yeah,
we're just done with it. So we're
yeah,
gonna move, but yeah, I'm not looking forward to it. But on the other hand, I am looking forward to a project of building a studio, like a separate studio building.
yeah.
It's going to be like it's going to look like a shed from the outside, but inside, and the walls are, that's going to be
Yeah, that
fun.
is going to be fun.
Yeah.
I totally get that.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, yeah, it's really cool. So now you mentioned your son, and he's going to be 19. And do you have other children?
Just him.
Okay, so he's has he flown the nest yet?
Yeah, well, he had his first year of university last year in Ottawa,
Ah,
and because he's also, when I made him Canadian as soon as he was born as well, so he went off to Ottawa to go to university. But then COVID hit in
mm,
April. He came home, and
oh,
he's been working for his dad all summer here, and
I see.
so. We said to him, but I've said, it's time, go back. They're going. He's coming with me. We're going to quarantine. Then he's moving in with a house with 4 other kids,
Okay.
and yeah, and he's on his second year. And I said, that's great, honey. I love you. Bye bye.
Yeah, no,
I
that's
have to say, we quarantined a couple of when COVID first hit.
yeah,
We dodged out of our little town. No, my husband couldn't work anymore. He had to shut down his construction.
yeah.
So we just packed everything up, went to the island for
Oh,
2.5 months.
oh, wow,
Yeah,
great.
it was beautiful and lovely and very isolating and very
Hmm.
great. But my son said to me, he pulled me aside like one day, 4 days into the quarantine, to say, Mom, you don't understand. I'm looking at him. He's, yeah, you don't understand how hard it is to live with your parents after you've left. Oh my God. I said, honey, I love you. It goes both ways. Goes both ways.
Yeah,
Now,
I was pretty much, my mom and I were pretty much like this through a good portion of high school. And so pretty much when I was that summer after graduating, whoop, I was on my way. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a lovely kid, and I love him, and he loves. I think it's all good, but I said I'm not interested in doing your dishes and your
No.
laundry and picking up after you. I'm really not. You think I'm driving you bananas?
Yeah,
You're
right,
driving
exactly.
me
Oh,
bananas.
well, this leads me to my next question. Do you have a hard time separating your work life from your private life? In other words, are you able to disconnect and just say, I'm not going to be checking my email for this amount of time. I'm done. I'm not available during this time. Or are you pretty much on it, kind of looking for those opportunities? Can you separate, or will you, work during the weekends, that kind of thing?
Well, I will work during the weekends, and
Hmm.
I will. I think when my son was younger, I was more, okay, yeah, I'm off, from a hard out at 5.
Uh-huh.
Although I may work, I might go back and work after bed time type of thing. But
Yeah.
now, um, I try and keep it to Monday and Friday, absolutely.
Uh-huh.
And if it's not a dire, but if it's a client who, is on a tight, turnaround time, and they're on a deadline, and
Yeah.
yeah, I have no problem, trying to accommodate whatever, quite frankly, whatever my clients want within reason,
Yeah, same here, especially
yeah.
when you're fortunate enough to gain a nice core group of clients that keep coming back to you. Sometimes, they've got unusual needs, and it just, you got to help them out. You can't
Yeah,
say, "Oh,
yeah,
I'm sorry, it's the weekend and I blah, 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 blah."
yeah,
Some
no.
people can do that, but I'm like, "No, I'm too grateful."
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I'll work the weekends. If you send me something at 5, I'll, cut it
Yeah.
until it's done. It doesn't matter. I got nothing but time.
Yeah. Good. Good. Now, once you get up into Canada and you're on the island
Hmm.
and you've been there for a month or so, is it hard to get back into the US that way?
No,
No.
no, no. The fact, I mean, now that I'm a U.S. citizen and a Canadian citizen.
Oh, dual
uh,
citizenship. Yeah.
yeah, it's allowed me to go across with the quarantine. New York State, I think, now has a quarantine. I'm not sure if that would still hold coming from Canada. I know other states are on it, but
Yeah.
um, I take it pretty seriously. We're such a, I mean, pretty serious. I take it very seriously. Um, but yeah, we had a bit of an uptick here in this little town a week
Ah,
ago,
oh, see. Yeah.
and everybody, a lot of testing. They brought testing facilities, and everybody went and got tested, and Yeah,
Did you get tested?
I did.
How was that? Did you get the whole voink? Yeah. What
So
was it,
it
as
was,
nasty as they say? Or I mean, it doesn't look very comfortable, but
it's not very comfortable.
yeah.
I was in a room with my son and his friend, and the nurse said, "So who wants to go first?" And they kind of were like, "Well, not me." So
They all
of
looked at
course,
you.
yes, you're the adult, you go. Yeah. So, but it wasn't, and so she said, if you hum, it will be easier. So I did and it just sort of vibrated my nose and
Yeah.
everything. But yeah, it was not. It was not
Yeah,
pleasant.
I guess, yeah, because humming like that would irritate your sinuses anyway, kind of. So I
Mm-hmm.
guess it just, if everything's buzzing, then hopefully that won't be as noticeable when they shove that
Yeah, when
thing
they
up in your
shove it up and it hits the backside of your brain, it seems.
That's too much. That's funny. Now, uh, just like I asked about your highlight for your career so far, have there been
Yeah.
any fun, sort of embarrassing moments that you can
Oh,
share, like in directed sessions or anything like that? Just to
uh,
just to give you an example, there was one session I was in where I was rolling along, and there was a word that I hit, subsequent, but
mhm.
I said subsequent. And I don't know why, but in my head for that session, it was subsequent. And this went on. I did it several times,
Oh, that's
and the director said, "Jan, it's very interesting. You're doing great, but I don't know how it's pronounced where you live, but that word is pronounced subsequent here." And I was sweating bullets. Thank God it wasn't like an on camera thing, because I was just like mortified. I was like, all I could do was laugh at myself, and everybody laughed with me, thank God, and
good.
probably
Yeah.
at me. That's okay. But yeah, so just to kind
That
of,
I can. Oh my God! I love that story. I
oh
love that story. I
God,
mean, I absolutely relate to. Yeah.
subsequent. Yeah.
Yeah. Subsequent. I say stuff. I'm always saying stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's totally. I did that. What did I say? Uh, Instead of filet, I think I said fillet. And
Oh, well, depending upon where you live,
well, that's what
that's
I
that's
said.
totally, yeah. I
And
mean,
I was like, they were like, I've never heard that before. I was like, well, I used to say filet all the time, I'm from Montreal, but
right.
then I heard fillet so I thought, oh, I guess it's fillet. And then, years go by or months go by or whatever. But I did say Titus on the radio when it's actually
Yeah.
Titus Mountain. Oh my God.
Oh,
You would get
okay.
that wrong. Hey, I'm saying Titus. I'm saying Titus. I can't even believe that I'm telling you this. But yeah, so the
Yeah.
radio station called in and said, you guys have a broadcaster. She keeps calling it Titus Mountain.
Well, it's funny because that happens all the time with broadcasters. I can't tell you how often I'm correcting the news broadcaster, the local one usually, when I'm hearing them say silly shit,
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
it happens.
Well, yeah. They've now that has gone down in the in whenever there's a new broadcaster and they're afraid, what if I say something wrong? They say, oh, we got
You
Jan
could,
Elliott
you
over
should, you
here
should have,
saying
yeah,
Titus.
you should talk to Jan Titus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
That was your nickname now. Hey, Titus, come in here. We got a meeting.
I can't believe I shared that story.
I'm glad you did. That's awesome. Well, Jan, I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but I do want to know how people can get a hold of you, either for whatever, for your voiceover work, your website, any of that stuff. Please share that.
Well, thank you. My website is janelliott.com. It's 1L, 1T. But there's also a cartoonist. Her name is Jan Elliott too. So you might get her, Stone Soup, I think is her. Anyway, so
Oh,
that's not me.
okay.
But janelliott.com, and that's my website.
Awesome. Awesome.
And
And
I'm
so
on
should people,
Twitter.
oh, you are on Twitter. You're most active on Twitter of all the socials.
I would say probably more Instagram and and Twitter. I can't say I post too much.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What's your Twitter handle?
Snow Country Jan.
At Snow Country Jan.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well,
Oh,
anything
thank
else?
you.
Anything, any other things that, that you want to plug or anything like that?
No, I do have one. I do have one podcast I did with a friend called Trailblazers of Today, and we interviewed some ladies. She's in real estate, and it's more of a real estate driven at this point. But so we did one episode, and I have that out there in
Cool.
podcast land, and yeah, under Trailblazers of Today. And that was a
Trailblazers
learning
of
curve.
Today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
learning curve. You know, I'm taking lots of audio, like 2.5 hours, and trying to put it into half an hour.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Yeah. For fun.
For fun, yeah, that's the big one too. For fun, wow, did I ever learn? Anyway, it's
Yeah.
all a learning curve, and I'm in there now.
No, that's awesome. That's cool. Well, thanks so much for joining me today, Jan. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
Thank
Appreciate your
you.
time, and good luck with going up to Canada, and enjoy the solitude of the island.
I will. Thank you so much. Lovely to see you and talk to you, Jan.
Great to see you too. Take care, Jan.
Right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.